You're listening to a Meatsmith Harvest. This is the podcast that encourages and equips you to grow your home around the harvest. This Farmstead Meatsmith production is made possible by you. If you like it, please consider supporting our team by going to patreon.com/Meatsmith and donating at a level you'd enjoy giving at. Your gift helps us increase the quality and quantity of all our free media education. Thank you, and happy harvesting. Hello, Meatsmiths.
Good morning.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
We can still say Merry Christmas.
Yeah, well.
Can we?
8 days. Is this the last day? It is. This is the last day of the feast.
No, the last day of the feast was
Tuesday.
January 1st. Today's the 3rd that we're recording this.
Yeah.
The Christmastide goes until the 6th.
Still happening.
So,
yes.
We could get technical in defining feast versus tide. But maybe that's another...
Yeah. We'll do that when we talk about laundry detergent.
That was a good one.
That's what that means, right?
Christmastide, I was thinking about this morning, is kind of like the hangover of Christmas. If there could be maybe not quite so derogatory a way to say that, but it's like it's such a big feast that we can't help but just let it spill into a few more days.
Oh, yeah.
We're not quite done with
it.
Well,
the tree is still up.
Yes.
The tree is still up. Yeah. What else is still Christmassy right now? We're still seeing family, and they're still bringing far too many presents to our children.
Oh, my gosh. Sorry, I can't stop fidgeting with the camera
sometimes. Hey,
Jesse,
welcome, and Desmond. They're with us on the Meatsmith table.
That's right. Yeah. We record this on Face Meat Book. How we say it? On our Meatsmith table Facebook group for our membership.
Yeah.
So Desmond and Jesse, we're going to be talking about sheep slaughter today. If you have any questions regarding that or any stories, any commentary at all.
I know for a fact that Desmond has slaughtered sheeps of his own raising over there in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And pigs.
Yeah.
I have eyewitness proof of the pigs, but just hearsay when it comes to the sheep.
Yeah.
But I believe it.
Yes. I think let's talk about really quick feasting in general. We were talking about this morning. And we're still kind of in that zone right now. Mm-hmm. I'm not wanting to get back into work quite yet.
Oh. Which just means you are working while not wanting to.
Yeah, I think so. This podcast is an exception to that, but I know what spurred it this morning. Our son, which will remain nameless.
Oh.
But one of them said he did not like our bacon.
Oh.
And I was like, So
we're leaving him nameless for his own good?
Yeah.
To protect him?
This is for his privacy.
Safety?
Yeah.
Okay. Because we don't want this to be drudged up in, his future that he did not like his father's bacon.
Yeah. Well, and so this, of course, unravels so many philosophical questions in my head. I can't even articulate them quickly enough. But I thought, no, at a certain level, you are wrong. Yes. This is not right. You are dead wrong. But why are you wrong? I can't, because our culture loves to say that taste is a matter of opinion. Mm-hmm. However, there's something wrong about not liking your bacon. So help me articulate why.
Well, I would start with a good old-fashioned ontology of bacon. And to say, we got to figure out what is the end of bacon. What are the causes of bacon? And its primary purpose is not just to taste good, though that is very important, clearly.
Sure.
And we do everything we can to that end. It has this other purpose of being, has so many, being nutritious. It has all of the fat and protein that young John Luke, whichever child that was, whatever he needed. And so it has nutrition, essential, especially for small children, and particularly ours, who seem hell-bent on eating only carbs all day, every day. Except Wallace is pretty good at that as they get older. But they're pretty much just carbites right now, carbivores. So we generally are forcing protein down their throats anyway, for their own good. So there is the flavor, and then there is for the good of the child, for the nutrition, for the health of their body. And then it's also incredibly thrifty. I mean, I wish we could almost show people. It's just the bacon that we make, it allows us to not purchase meat at the grocery store pretty solidly, except for when I get a craving for beef, and I have not slaughtered a beef in a while. Then we will buy beef, but for nutritional reasons again. And so the thrift is really, it's unlimited with bacon, because we have it all hanging up here. I know we had this perfect. There's sausages, trying to show people so much bacon. There's many layers of bacon hanging over our heads right now. And there we go. So it's very thrifty. It's good economy. It is not wasteful. It is good household resource management. And the thing about a Sublime thing is that it meets all of those ends without compromising anyone, without being at the cost of something else. And that is a compromise that we have become accustomed to with food we don't make ourselves, with grocery store fare. It's usually, well, it tastes good, but it's not good for me. Or it's good for me, but it sure don't taste good. And that is not a compromise inherent to the bacon that we eat and enjoy. It tastes good, and it is good. It is better than it ought to be. It is great evidence, I always say, of a benevolent universe that we don't have to compromise one of those. It's pretty good. A good thing is a good thing sometimes. And I think bacon is one of those.
Yeah, and when you were saying that it's twofold, the purpose of bacon is twofold. It's it's good to our palates. But it's also good to our bodies, particularly, and William Cobbett articulates this really well. That you do need the sauce of labor in order to really get from bacon what you ought to. And a 7-year-old doesn't quite have that yet, so he's
just lacking the sauce of labor.
We're working on him. But the drive, like after a long day of work, or maybe you've got a long day of work ahead of you, and you really need to juice up, then bacon tastes a lot better.
It does. And I think you could even order the goods of bacon, in a ranking, as to what is the greatest good, what is the second, what is the third. And it seems to me that the thriftiness and the health, the nutritional content of it, they battle for first place in terms of how long the beneficent effect of bacon will last, and how many benefits you'll derive from it, because nutrition, health in itself, results in everything. We always say, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And that's pretty essential. And so, because there is an ordering, we might even say that taste, and I hesitate to even go there, is a secondary good, maybe. But nonetheless, I think that we engage in a sublime and infinitely inspiring pursuit when we seek to make those ends meet. No pun intended. Because there's an argument for conceiving of bacon in all of its goodness, even if your taste repels from it, and which happens, believe it or not. I mean, apart from just our son, when people have bacon they make themselves for the first time, and it is just completely other than the grocery store bacon, they can be a little disappointed, like officially not happy about the result of their labors. And, they'll contact me. Did I follow the recipe? Like, did I do the method right? I salted for this amount of time. It was just the salt that stuck to the bacon. Why don't, it's too salty. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And then that's the real hurdle of traditional home curing and bacon making, is to be docile to the results of your labor, rather, and to take, rather than to try to recreate your predisposed notion of a thing, because your predisposed notion is probably erroneous.
Right.
And so there is very much an argument to be made for, I know it's healthy, I know it's thrifty, I can raise the pig in my backyard, I can feed it well, and I can go through the process of harvesting, all of which is just a culture birthing, self-disciplining, wonderful thing to do. And I'm going to do that even if I don't necessarily like the taste, in the hope that I can discipline my taste to come around to the more ultimate good of bacon, which is its nutrition and its thrift. And when you do that is literally having your cake and eating it too. It's like without, any reprehensibility.
Yeah, I think that word discipline actually helps me unravel the mystery that is our 7-year-old, because he has none yet. He's growing into it.
Yes.
He's right at that bottleneck. And because I was thinking about this notion of feasting, particularly this time of year. And so when he said this, and I'm in this merry, jolly, feasty, festive mode, and he's like, I'm not going to eat my bacon this morning.
I don't like bacon.
I'm like, that's something very unfestive of you.
Dare we say profane?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's why that word exists.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, like at Christmas, you think particularly, I should be feasting. And feasting itself kind of takes on a new meaning because it's hard to feast. It's actually not... It requires discipline. And I never realized this until the last few years.
The discipline of feasting.
It is, I'd rather sit on a couch and stuff my face of, ready-made Christmas
stuff,
frivolities. But to say, no, I'm going to make a kidney pétivier. Or I'm, okay, let's roll my sleeves up. Here we go. And, you get into it. But I feel, especially this year, we've been watching Christmas Carol a couple times, and we're new connoisseurs of this
different versions
of this story. Yeah, and we watched 2 different ones, and they were both so good, and I was a little scared at how much I identified with Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yeah.
And at the end, we watched the Muppet one with our kids.
It's great.
But they say, and it always was said that Ebenezer Scrooge always kept Christmas well.
Yeah.
And I thought, I've never thought about keeping Christmas, as a verb, to keep Christmas. That requires discipline.
As
you
a
have
virtue.
to be really committed to it. You can't just expect it to come and go and someone will fly in and decorate your house for you, like mom and dad used to do. It's a different thing.
It is. I think it requires the engagement of your will to its highest end.
It does.
It's not just passive consumption. That is gluttony, I think.
Yeah.
It requires your engagement.
Yeah.
Your willful engagement.
Yeah, those words just they have a whole new meaning for me now as an adult. And so it actually helps me contextualize when a 7-year-old says, I don't like your perfect bacon. I'm like, okay, so you're there. That's what we call childish, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. He's in this season of life.
Yeah, literally undisciplined.
Right. Right. Well, because I looked up, I looked up gluttony recently, and it's classically defined as the unreasonable attachment to pleasure.
Yeah.
Or the pleasure of food. Actually, it encompasses a number of things, not just food related.
Yeah.
But unreasonable is the key word there. And I don't think a 7-year-old is quite of the age of reason yet.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that you wouldn't like certain things.
I feel like so much of that age of reason is just making the connection between your present self and your future self.
Okay.
Like, if you're just disciplining your present self, your future self will really appreciate it. And that is very much a sacrificial mindset, sacrificing the present for a greater good,
right?
A higher end that is not realized yet.
Yeah.
That you can't even see, that you have to act on in hope or faith.
Yeah.
And doing that requires self-denial in the moment. And that is a distinct, it's interesting. That's a distinct characteristic of reason, I think, is you're actually bargaining with the future. You're conceptualizing it and making a deal. And if I eat this bacon, I will be stronger and I will grow nice strong bones and my cheeks will shine. And I will actually be tuning my own taste buds as if they are instruments to the proper harmony, to something that is good, rather than enslaving them to something that is merely addictive. That will actually do the opposite. It actually overcomes your will. And I guess that is the ultimate evil of gluttony, or in relation to food, is addictive food. You can become enslaved to it, and then you're no longer willfully participating in a feast. You are the feast. You're being feasted upon.
Sure.
Or something like that.
Yeah, well, and when you look at it this way, feasting becomes an act of self-denial.
Yeah.
And which is odd.
Yeah.
It's not what we're told. But I mean, in some ways, I look at our business and our podcast and just the little bit that we do with food I'm just my own personally, I'm recalibrating my mind to know feasting from fasting, because they've gotten really confused and muddled, and just what is my relationship with food? I guess that phrase is thrown out there a lot these days, but to know that I can't just consume without thought.
Right. And I would say that that's even inhuman. Like, we can almost not consume without thought. It's almost impossible. And we actually have to inure ourselves to the essential primitive act of feeding ourselves in order to consume thoughtlessly. Because I don't think that's where we start. I think it takes, MSG or whatever, highly addictive, extremely gratifying, but gut-rotting additive.
Yeah.
Just highly refined carbs, like we see it in our children. They're constantly battling that.
Yeah.
Even though, the worst carbs they have to deal with is like your organic flour fermented bread. But still, they prefer that to most things. And I do, there's something about us that is, I was trying to figure this out earlier today, that is not, we almost can't be thoughtless about eating. And I think proof of that is that we kill. I heard somewhere that omnivores have, and I think I've mentioned this before, but it just keeps sticking in my brain. They have this interesting thing where they don't kill. They just eat. And if you think about pure carnivores, like a big cat, a puma or a tiger, they deliver a kill and then they eat, right? And that might not be a universal rule of all carnivores, but that's definitely the general pattern. Omnivores, on the other hand, bears, pigs, they just start eating you. You don't have to be dead. I mean, you read stories in the newspaper. There was an older man in Oregon. He got eaten by his pigs. They didn't. Yeah, they found his teeth, I think, and some bones, but they didn't deliver a kill first. Right?
Yes.
Whereas the carnivores, they have the huge incisor canines in order to achieve cervical dislocation, in order to go in on the neck. Yeah, I think I'm having deja vu. I've already talked about this, but they have cut the jugular arteries and maybe even, popped the atlas vertebrae, the skull off the atlas vertebrae of whatever animal it is, and then we eat. Mm-hmm. And that is really interesting. And I think that we humans are omnivores, but we have departed. We don't follow the pattern of other omnivores. We kill first. Mm-hmm. And I think that is the same as being thoughtful about your food. Why? Why do we kill? Why?
Well, can I interject?
We have the technological... Yeah. Why don't we just extract protein from living animals?
Yeah.
Why haven't we done that? What is the hang up? Why don't we just cut off, a piece of leg flesh from a beast or from its back, before it's fully dead and just start chowing down? Mm-hmm. Certainly with our technology today, we could keep animals alive and suck small amounts of blood from them and eat their blood, or harvest little bits of liver or of muscle tissue or something surgically. But no, we kill. Mm-hmm. We kill first. And I think that's really important to us.
Well, actually, they're on the cutting edge in science and certain laboratories of literally growing muscle tissue for food.
Mm-hmm. So-called.
So that we don't have to raise animals and kill them. And I think that the human in us naturally goes, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
That would be inhuman, actually, to just not eat muscle, animal flesh, and not have to kill it first.
Yeah, and I think that is key too, to think of that as being inhuman, because we think that it's cruel to kill, and that is a very, unfortunately, rather shallow luxury of urban existence. That particular thought, I think. It is. You can only have that thought earnestly if you are estranged from reality, and you have the luxury of thinking yourself as not being a part of the natural order, which is possible to do, in a concrete paradise. That's a very compelling simulacrum, a very compelling fantasy to be able to unthink your bodily natural existence within a natural order and a food chain. And so not only is killing not cruel to eat, but that might be, this is what I was trying to say, the one thing that we do that distinguishes us from other omnivores that is distinctly a merciful act. It's actually a kindness to the prey to kill them before you devour them.
Yeah.
And that the universality with which we kill meat before we eat it is just inarguable. You can't argue with that. That's a universal law. We kill before we eat.
Yeah.
I guess the French have they like to eat their trout. What do they call it? Blue trout?
Yeah.
When it is still sort of alive. Yeah. But even then, I think you're cooking it just instantly after death,
Yeah.
And yeah, we boil lobsters, but that kills them. So as the cooking is the killing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that there is something about that. The kill, we cannot, and you just look at human history, we cannot help but surround the basic act of killing with innumerable and infinite symbolic meaning. I mean, we can't turn off that relationship, that encounter with the kill. That is just a generator of cultural meaning and liturgy and sacrificial systems, and it proliferates.
So you're reminding me right now of a book I read long ago in grad school by Martin Heidegger, and it's called, I just looked it up to remind myself what it's called, but the book is called What is Called Thinking.
Yeah, I tried to read that too.
I probably couldn't read it anymore. But the thing I got from it, the only thing that I remember is linguistically he relates, and I don't know if it's just in German or Latin or where he gets it from, but thinking is related to thanking. And so that makes sense when it comes to food and sacrifice, is when you think about what you're doing, there is an aspect of gratitude to. There has to be. There's
Yeah.
just anyway. Go read the book, and you can flesh that out a little bit.
I remember trying to read that book, and I had to do it. I was fighting sleep.
Oh,
Sorry, Heidegger. And I was standing on a chair in a closet because I was out of coffee. The only way I could manage to stay awake
and it was that
was
book.
to stand up on a chair. Yeah. In a closet.
Great.
So that if I fell asleep, I had the fear of falling quite a ways if I fell asleep. So I had to stand.
Well, I think that's a lot of abstract
I know.
thinking right there.
That was a ton. I could keep going too, but we should probably move on.
Well,
We were talking about bacon.
well, no, but hang on. We were talking
Yeah.
about killing animals, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Is lamb slaughter.
Righto.
Okay. Well, and this kind of reminds me. I wanted to look up before we did this
Uh-huh.
podcast. This is about 2 years late as an announcement, but a while ago you were hired by a motion picture collection who were filming the major motion picture Captain Fantastic. And if you've seen that movie, you'll know why. There's a scene in the first 8 minutes of the movie where the young male has to dispatch a deer, and the two females end up processing the dead deer. And so they needed some hands-on, practice. Just show them how to do this.
How to skin a deer.
And
The two lady actresses.
yeah,
The daughters.
they did a good job. I mean, there's some. It only shows at most 10 seconds with them with a knife. But you didn't get to teach the young man, but he kills the animal as like a rite of passage. This is like the first 5 minutes of the movie, and it was interesting how they did it.
Yeah.
Some of the details we would probably take issue with,
Yeah.
but nonetheless,
Not realistic.
yeah. As far as him recognizing the death that was happening, although, the devil's in the details, right? So it was interesting because we feel like, so the deer, the deer didn't struggle at all. And we know that there is struggle in death. And so it was like a rite of passage, and yet he didn't quite, in our eyes, it wasn't that much struggle.
It was just a gap of knowledge.
Yeah.
Desmond, who's watching right now, will know, having slaughtered sheep. If you watch the first few minutes, Desmond, of Captain Fantastic, he kills a deer with just a knife, which is exactly how we're going to talk about at some point today. How I kill sheep and goats, just a knife. And you'll be able to tell instantly, like, oh yeah, no, that's not how it works. Nope, that was a little. It was a little too quick.
Just ignorant.
And I understand. We are so estranged. We're all estranged from death.
Yeah.
We don't see it ever. People used to see even dead human bodies all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
And dead animals, dying animals, common. That the shambles is that's the street in England where the shelves, which is the old word for which is shambles, were hanging with meat in the butchers' shops. And the shops were also the slaughterhouses. So there were livestock in the street right in front of the shop being killed right there with gutters for channeling the blood away. That was the shambles. And so dying animals right there at the commercial center where you buy your retail meat cuts, you're watching the animals die. And we're just estranged from that, and we don't see it. And I think that's unfortunate because we think that you deliver death and then the animal's dead, which sounds like it is that way, but it is, but it's more, it requires more of you. It demands a little more exertion. If you're not going to, outsource your delivery of the kill to a bullet,
right,
but you are just going to use a knife, it is very intimate. It is an intimate way to take a life, and you feel yourself taking it. You are taking. And And it's a bummer because all of that knowledge only would have helped the film, I think.
Yeah.
You know, to have him really think about what it would take to tackle a buck,
Yeah.
which is very tall relative to a goat or a sheep, and actually slit its throat. And, you know, as a young boy, you probably couldn't hold it there.
Right.
It would hop right up, bleeding out of its neck to be sure, and it would run 200 yards.
Yeah.
Then you'd have to follow it, and then it would collapse because it would have bled out. That would probably be the most likely thing. And even then, it's just so interesting, you know, even without being aware of that inherent struggle and just the basic battle that would have ensued in a real encounter between a boy hunting and a buck deer, they still know in the movie that that is a rite of passage.
Yeah.
And Vigo says something like, you know, here dies the boy, now he's a man.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
And he gives him a liver and he takes a bite of the raw liver. And it's, yeah.
Well, I only
Funny
brought
thing.
that up because, you know, you and I both felt the bummer, right? Because we've seen it intimately.
Mm-hmm.
You've done it intimately. And I guess a couple times I have, when we were really starting out,
Yeah.
you know, I helped kind of hold the lamb and catch
yeah.
the lamb. And so I was feeling the life leave an animal. But for the sake of that young man to be able to enter more deeply into the rite of thinking, thoughtfulness and thankfulness, you know, you have to enter into the death a little bit more than, anyway, it was just a silly movie, but, anyway.
It was good. Yeah, and I haven't even watched the whole thing.
Yeah, we stopped early.
I've never seen it. I just know we're in the credits. It says Braden and Lauren, Farmstead Meatsmith.
His name's not Braden, just so you know.
And
there's an N in there.
It's all right. But it was neat. Yeah, I taught the two young girl actresses, probably 14, 15, 16, somewhere in there.
Yeah, they're like Southern California teenagers.
Yeah, they were great. They came, and I was slaughtering sheep on Vashon, and they came with a bit of an entourage.
Yeah.
Holding umbrellas for them, where there was nary a drop of rain on that day, but it's all right. It's the way of the world, I suppose. And I showed them how to skin. They wanted to know how to skin.
Yeah, and they did well.
They did the best they could, I think, considering that when they hung the deer for them, they didn't hang its legs apart. Their legs were together, the back legs. It was hanging from both back legs, and so it kind of nullified a little bit of what I showed them. But they did the best they could, and I think it worked.
One girl got elbow deep in that skin. It was
she
awesome.
did it.
She used the
fisting technique.
Yeah, that technique that you'll talk about today. So
yeah, and I guess what I think is interesting about that film is that, and I haven't finished it, so I do not know how it ends, but the whole program of Vigo with his kids living out in the forest in the middle of nowhere, this very natural existence, is that everything is honest and open, and it's we don't bother with the fantasies of the stories we tell ourselves or the fantasies or the religions that the rest of the culture works with. They were materialists, and reality is biology, you know, and that was as much as they could extrapolate from that deer slaughter, which I thought was really interesting, because even Vigo, or his character in that film, Captain Fantastic, I guess, you can't not have liturgy at the kill.
yeah,
Like, it's impossible. And I think the reason is the kill.
sure.
We're not just eating the deer. Again, we're not just snaring it and restraining it and eating its flesh. We're killing first. There's no reason for that other than a value judgment that is being made. And then on what basis, do you decide that it is good to kill first rather than to eat first? Kill first, then eat. Wait till the animal dies. And they even pan to a very fake-looking deer head while the deer is dying.
Yeah.
And it dies like all things die in the movies, It closes its eyes and its head goes back. Which is not how animals die. Fair enough. But,
Yeah.
that was an assertion of a value system, nonetheless, to kill first.
Yeah.
And that is a strange thing that we do that I think is indicative of, again, like what you say, of reason, of cooperation, of the very essential primitive act of feeding ourselves, and this other thing that we bring to the table, and we can't help ourselves but bring it.
Yeah.
This reason, this
Yeah.
value system,
Yeah.
this ceremonial act of
Yeah.
killing first.
Yeah.
Because it's not strictly utilitarian. You can't just limit it and place it solely at the feet of a pragmatic impulse.
Yeah. This is just speaking off the cuff, but if you're going to kill an animal, if you feel the spirit move to say a prayer, unite your spirit
Yeah.
with, with the animal, with God, I say go with that impulse.
Well, I would say everyone feels that's ever been in my class. It's always, or, I don't know, maybe we're going to have people saying, I didn't feel that in your class. Well, fair enough. But there is this silence, and it's a little bit like sitting down before a meal,
It is.
that is prepared. And,
Yeah.
and if you all this is what happens. See, choreography leads to liturgy also. We can't help ourselves.
Yes.
If you all if this circumstances are such that the meal is prepared, it's laid out on the table, happens to be beautiful, and then you all take a seat at the same time by accident. Have you ever done that? Uh-huh. Everyone kind of pulls up a chair and you sit. Uh-huh. And it was accidentally choreographed.
Yeah.
There's like this silence, but something should be done.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Blessing of the food or something, some blessing of the meal.
Well, grace builds on nature. Spirituality builds on physicality.
Yeah.
If your bodies are going there, then don't fight it.
Well, and that's what's so cool about it, because it is it is inextricably just wound up in our most basic physical need, which is food, to feed ourselves. Yeah. And I think because we are self-aware, we can't get over the notion that we are asserting the value of our life over the value of the animal we're killing, of our lives and the lives of others. Mm-hmm. It is just a undeniable assertion of humanness, of what we are, over the value of the animal's continued existence. Yeah. And then we develop, we can go beyond that and say, well, we're actually, at the same time, it's totally acknowledging you're part of the natural order too, because we can't just let the deer proliferate without predation. Yeah. We can actually manage them. We're actually part of the ecology. Yeah. So we have to eat them. Yeah. It's an essential part of it. And so it's not just this purely selfish act, but it is undeniably an essential human act. Yeah. That is the result of a value system that we can't get away from, I think.
The hunt is up.
How many people do you know you would say truly share your back to the land values, or your passion for home-scale craft meat curing, or simply love the multifaceted beauty of a good meal as obsessively as you do? Maybe a handful? At farmsteadmeatsmith.com, we've created an online community of hundreds of omnivores from around the world, and a platform for them to learn from and inspire one another. In addition to our major semi-annual hands-on educational event, The Family Pig, here at our Pacific Northwest homestead, over at farmsteadmeatsmith.com, we host a purely digital membership program with an archive of film and textual resources years deep now, for you to dive deeper into your food journey with. And both our classes and online program include access to our private community Facebook page for your continued education and fellowship. We've been told that our classes are life-changing and the membership program unparalleled in quality and quantity. To get a taste of our education, search farmsteadmeatsmith.com and our YouTube channel for our free films, conversations, and downloads. Explore how we and other meatsmiths across the globe may best come alongside you, putting the knife in your hand, article by article, and comment thread by comment thread, and can support you in building your home around the harvest. Please head to farmsteadmeatsmith.com today. Well, let's get into it then. Let's talk about how would one approach the art and science of killing, dispatching, and then, processing. So skinning and eviscerating a sheep, a goat.
A deer.
Yeah. And even like if you were really ambitious, a cow, but that takes other apparatus. But just a ruminant in general,
Yeah. I always think that the slaughter of a goat or a lamb has, when it comes to the kill, let's say let's focus on the kill, the humaneness, the success of the kill is more dependent upon the lead up to the kill than the kill itself.
Okay.
Sounds weird, but it's true. And that's because they're prey animals, so they flee. Pigs are different. They're just they look at you like we're on the same level. Like, yeah, we eat everything.
That's right, yeah.
We're omnivores. There's that Winston Churchill quote, right?
Yes.
It's something like dogs look up to you in worship and cats look down on you from on high, but pigs look you straight in the eye.
Yeah.
And we understand each other. And I would say that when it comes to other livestock, to sheep, we are wolves. We're the predators.
Yeah.
Always. Unless you bottle feed a lamb, then, it becomes your pet. But barring that, in pretty much every circumstance, sheep look at you and think, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
That's just their way. And goats think you're a goat.
Okay.
Particularly if you have a dairy goat herd, they treat you like the queen mother goat. The goat that, because you deliver food to them. And so that's the job of the matriarch of the queen mother goat, is if you watch a goat herd, the queen mother she picks what everybody eats, which is great because goats are very sensitive to parasitism because they have so much surface area in their gut, more than sheep even. They're more susceptible to parasites that they have to manage that gut ecology very intentionally. And so the goat that's the best at that seems to be the one that everybody follows, and she's the leader, and we're going to eat some blackberry over here, we're going to eat some grass, but not too much, and then we're going to go over to the huckleberry, and she leads them. And you take on that role. Your herd of goats will follow you with the hay when you become the feeder of the goats. You're the queen mother. And but yeah, pigs regard themselves as humans, I would say. So the sheep thinks you're wolves, the goats thinks that you're the queen mother goat, and the pigs think that the pigs are humans. They think they're on the same level.
Yeah.
And man, it's pretty close.
Okay.
But so because of that is how you decide your strategy when it comes time to kill the sheep or the goat. And that is the basic. Those are the fundamental principles that you have to work with, and how you deal with that in each individual case is going to require a little bit of discernment from you. And in general, the rule is always keep the peace. Calmness that is the key. And this is why I say the lead up to the kill is almost more important than the details of how you deliver it, which sounds crazy, but 'tis true. 'Tis pity. 'Tis true. 'Tis true. 'Tis pity. And it's because if you're chasing a sheep around, it will convulse more and longer. It will fight you more. And just so we're all going the same place, when I talk about the kill, I'm talking about delivering the kill with just a knife. And we'll describe it more, but what that looks like is laying the animal down on its side. So its four legs are not under it, completely on its side, and then arching its neck back and delivering the kill with one swipe of a sharp knife, so that the animal immediately shoots blood out of its neck and completely bleeds out.
Uh-oh.
Here comes a Perez, a daughter.
A little sheep.
A little sheep.
She wants to eat.
That's kind of cute. Oh. Hi, sheeps. Oh. That's a funny face.
She hasn't seen for a few episodes, probably.
Yep. Her hair still sticks straight up. Hi. Yeah. Good to see you.
Oh, she sees the microphone.
Uh-oh. You want to suck on that? Yeah.
I might have to go take her inside and
Really?
But if you
Okay.
yeah. She's she's not a 4-month-old anymore.
Well,
She's like a 7-month-old.
okay. Well, do you want to wait until we absolutely have to?
Sure. I'll
Okay.
keep her up for a little bit. Okay.
As I was saying, Therese, the lead up to the kill, and usually what that means is to keep the peace, you can't be chasing the animal. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what it comes down to.
Yes.
If you want the kill to be calm, the great metaphor I use, or think of metaphor, it's not a metaphor, the story that typifies the panic, a panicked kill, a harried, harassed, frantic, straw, mud, kicking, stuff flying everywhere, maybe an insufficiently delivered kill attempt, is the story of the account of John Howard, who could kill a pig with just a knife.
That's right.
Because he was an artist.
Yeah.
And he could do it well. And the thing that distinguished him was that there was no thrashing about and nothing that would happen that would attract the boys from the neighborhood, from the village, to come watch the spectacle. There's no spectacle that little boys would think would be cool. Yeah. So that's what calmness is. Nothing where the boys are like, oh, yeah, Dad. You know? Yeah, sheep, you're bleeding out.
Right. No vulgarity.
Which boys do, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a boy thing. Our boys do that.
Yeah.
So if there's no spectacle, then things are going well. So that's what keep the calm is, and no running. And so what that means in most cases is a tight pen with a smoothly functioning gate. Please, oh please. Because you want to get in there, grab a sheep or a goat, either lay it down in the pen or take it just outside. But in either case, you don't want to have to be untying, 15 knots of baling twine and wire from a gate that's going to fall the moment you untie it anyway, and then everybody escapes. So a good, solid containment. And I would say, the readiest route to a nice slaughter pen or a kill pen for your home farm would be cattle panels.
Yeah.
For sheep, because they're tall. They're something like 50 inches or something. They're 52 inches, I think.
Yeah.
They're taller than 48. And they have their own rigidity. It just takes a few T-posts.
Yeah.
And they're heavy.
You could do it in less, maybe $100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Provided you don't buy them on Vashon. And
that's true.
They're large. They're 16 feet long. And that's a pretty small. Maybe you could even do it with 3 if you have a small enough sheep, a little triangular pen, and it's tight. And what that tight pen does is it prevents flight.
Yeah.
And if you prevent flight, you prevent panic.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Flight and fear are connected.
They are. And I think even with us, we're this way. Our brains work this way. The body reacts and the mind follows.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sheep are definitely that way. And I always say, a sheep panics because it finds itself running.
Exactly.
Its knee-jerk reaction is flee.
Yeah.
And then it thinks, I'm dying. I'm going to die. I must flee faster. And that is the source of their panic. So if you control the body, you control the mind. Yes, Therese. Except for, I guess that works sometimes with you. If you control the body, you control the mind. So if you can prevent the fleeing, you can prevent the fleeing state of mind.
Yeah.
The mindset.
Yeah, no, it works with children sometimes. I mean, children do have a mind of their own, but humans work the same way.
Yeah.
And I can think of instances where I've allowed myself to engage in a certain activity, whatever it may be, and then the emotions and the psyche, it follows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Psyche follows the surge of adrenaline. Like sometimes you can't control the surge of cortisol or adrenaline.
Yeah.
Your body does it without your approval.
Right.
And then you have to work to get yourself down. So, it's the same thing with sheep. So tight pen.
Yeah.
And another thing you'll appreciate is a tight pen with a chute.
Yeah.
Goats are different with chutes than sheep's.
Okay.
Because they got different herding abilities. Sheep's are, what are they? They are just orthodox herders. They are, the herd is everything, the flock. And so they stay in a tight ball. proof of this, such and so are mallard ducks, is that they will sooner run towards the predator to get to the flock rather than away from the predator.
Goats will do this.
Sheep.
Oh, sheep.
Sheeps and mallard ducks, because they're strong. Their safety is associated with the flock,
Right.
not more so than it is with creating distance from the predator.
Right. Huh.
And so you'll get this weird thing where, like, hopefully you're not chasing sheep, which is really what this is about. But if you are, they'll run close to you to be with the other sheep.
Yeah.
Because for them, that separation from the flock is death.
Yeah.
Separation means death. So all that to say, especially if you're going to be raising sheep and goats on a more regular basis, on annually, keep it going with a convenient and calm kill pen. I said calm, Therese. A calm kill pen and a chute to get them in there. Because if you have to chase them all over the 5-acre paddock to get them into the kill pen, kind of defeats the purpose of the kill pen. Oh, no. So get a few more extra cattle panels to create a funnel, right, that you can get them in there. And never underestimate their readiness to flip out and flee. And because I encounter this a lot, I'll show up and people will have lots of confidence in their ability to handle their sheep. And it's not unwarranted. They feed them every day. Maybe they've even trained them on a bucket just with a little grain treat. More so just to have something to control them with than to actually, bulk them up on grain. It's more just to be able to get them to go where you need them to go. Mm-hmm. And so people will be very confident in this ability. Like, no, I'll just lead them out and you can just grab one. It's like, no. Actually, when I grab one, the whole dynamic changes. Yeah. So you need to really create a good kill pen for your own sake and for the continued smooth slaughtering that is essential to your sheep husbandry project. I mean, if you can't with relative ease cull your sheep, then your flock is going to be a mess. The best management you can do for your sheep flock is to kill sheeps. It's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. And so you want to make that as smooth as possible. So big funnels, passive controlling, such that you're never chasing them. All you have to do is walk. And maybe they follow you right into the kill pen, and that's excellent. Or maybe you just walk behind them, and pressure them into it. But there's no chasing. Don't chase. Don't do it.
That's why they have sheepdogs.
That's why they have sheepdogs. That's why they have stuff like fences and sheepdogs and stuff.
Yeah. We learned the hard way, folks.
Yeah.
I mean, we spent the first year of our business, this is a decade ago, thinking, farmers know what they're doing. They wouldn't like really have you thinking that they could just walk their little lammy over to you.
Lambikins.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
so you ended up chasing sheep.
Oh, I've chased a lot of sheep in my time.
It was so unprofessional look, and you hurt yourself. And
did I?
Yeah.
Well,
we ended up writing in our contract very quickly.
Yeah.
You must have your sheep penned.
What is it?
We will not chase your sheep.
$1,000 an hour for every 10 minutes, or $1,000 every 10 minutes spent chasing sheep.
Yeah.
Because they're faster than you. They can accelerate faster than you, and they can turn harder. I happen to know from experience. The only way you're going to get them is through exhaustion. It's horrible, but it's true. You can if you're just in reasonable health, you'll be able to run longer than they will. They will tire and they'll get sloppy, and you'll corner them, and then you'll get them.
Tired, and you won't be in a good mood.
You will have wasted an hour at least. Yeah. And then the sheep is panicked. Its heart is racing because it's been sprinting, and it's not a humane kill.
Yeah.
And I would say the way that I kill with just the knife, it is, for it to be the more humane option than a bullet, the lead up to the kill has to be calm.
Yeah.
There can't be chasing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say you've got the animals penned and corralled, and you've even a handful, let's say, I mean, you can do 15 at a time even. They can all be in the same pen. There can be a lot of them.
That's right. And it's, this is where we encounter one of the differences that I have experienced between sheeps and goats. With sheeps, their degree of calmness and well-being is utterly dependent upon the presence of other sheeps. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
That is their ground zero for, is everything okay? Oh, there's a sheep. Okay, I'm okay. That's it. So with goats, on the other hand, they're a little different. They're just they're a little more independent. And so they, I think, are more susceptible and more prone to not being happy about the sight of other goats being killed.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. Whereas sheep, man, they don't, as long as there's other sheep, they don't care. Yeah. As far as I can tell.
Which is like pigs.
Yeah. That's right.
We've talked about this before.
Yeah. Pigs eat the blood.
Yeah. People think, well, shouldn't you separate the animals? And we're like, don't go through the headache.
Yeah. Right, because it's not the humane option usually, because they fear separation more than the sight of a dead compatriot.
Yeah, you have to play to what the animal is and what their social, how they're socially made up.
And I think this goes to my theory that sheep see you as a wolf, and so they're calm when they're with each other and camouflaged against the flock, whereas goats see you as a goat.
Okay.
So they're a little thrown off by your non-goat-like behavior when you kill a goat.
Okay.
And
like what you do to our buddy here.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I do actually take the goat away because
Really?
I do it separate from other goats. And that's
like out of the pen?
Out of sight of the other goats.
Okay.
Because the goat is with me. And it's very comfortable. I can walk the goat like a dog. I still get him penned. Still keep things. Oh, we should talk about how to walk a goat and a sheep. But but then take the first goat that you're going to slaughter out. Have a gatekeeper on hand, someone to close and open the gate for you, so you don't have to worry about it. And then go around the corner so that they can't see because that goat is okay with you.
Yeah.
This is my theory, because you're another goat. And then we'll go into how you lay it down.
What will the other goats do? I mean, will they all mutiny on you and
They'll remember you.
Okay.
Yeah, it changes the mood. So yeah, I mean,
they might
they'll remember
if it's short
if you're a slaughterman, they'll remember your truck.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
So you want to do it out of sight of other goats.
I guess I'm just wondering, is this being hypersensitive to the goat, or is this a matter of practical, like it's going to make your job a lot harder if the goat remembers you?
It might.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll flee. Their flight distance right when they see you the next year or whatever will be more.
Yeah.
Or if you're the owner of the goats and you're slaughtering your own, you will find a major breach in the relationship you had with them and the trust.
Yeah.
They will be very
Uh-oh, will you grab that?
They'll be very suspicious of you.
Yeah.
From then on.
Yeah.
And you might have to regain their trust, which can be a pain. Yeah, Desmond says that he can confirm he's run a ram to pick him out and load him. This was just to move them, though, not for a kill. Yeah, so he's chased rams, so Desmond knows it's not so cool to chase sheeps. They become athletic, unimaginably athletic when you chase them and they're fleeing for their lives. But yeah, that would be a major difference between the sheeps and the goats. So when I show up and I've got sheeps all nicely penned, in a tight area, I'll go in and then I judge. When I'm in there and I've caught one, you look at get a feel for the flock. What is the flock feeling at that moment? If they're just all on the opposite side of the pen, just looking at you, and maybe some of them aren't even looking at you, then it's okay. You could probably drop the sheep right there and take the kill. If, on the other hand, when you go in there, they're bouncing off the walls, and you think they're going to hop out, then you probably will need to increase your distance from them. So you probably will need to take a sheep out and have a gatekeeper there to shut the gate. And when you walk a sheep, this is the part that it would have been neat to see them dramatize in Captain Fantastic, but when it is a physical battle. I mean, unless you're using a gun where you're delivering the kill without physically touching them, if you're just going to slit the throat, it's grappling.
Right.
That's what it is.
Yeah, the death scene was so quick between him and the deer. I thought, but he's going to fight you.
Yeah.
And he did it, I
Major
think,
battle.
when the deer was upright. And that's actually you want to get the deer down on the ground. And we'll talk about this, but it was the complete wrong kind of deliverance.
So when it's 2 legs versus 4, it's a grappling match, and the fight needs to go to the ground.
Yeah.
So you need to get a takedown.
Yep.
That's what you need to do, and you need to be on the animal's back. So or towards its dorsal, its backside.
I'll be right back.
The spine. Okay. And so the beginning of that grappling match between you and the lamb or the goat, it starts when you grab the sheep or the goat in the pen. And again, even in a pen, they can run. You want to try to avoid them, doing a whirlpool in the pen in front of you. You want to corner them, so you're cutting them off. And you're doing that so they don't run. That's the point. And you can even pick one, and deer or sheep have this, and even goats. It's very interesting, You can minimize your movement, meaning you don't have to chase them and cover lots of ground just by switching directions. Like a defender in basketball, I assume. I'm not actually good at basketball. But when they'll be looking at you, usually with their back to you, and they'll be looking at you out of one eye, and they wanna flee that way I'm pointing right. You step right, and then they'll go this way, and you just step left, and with each left and right step, it's also a step closer. And it's just a timing thing. It's a little dance you do. But this is just in case your pen is a little big and there's a little space there and you don't want to chase the animals around the pen. You have to shut them down, and you end up shutting off their left-right escapes by being a presence there. And eventually, you're right on them. And you've done this, left, right, all the way up, and you're standing right in front of them. And they have no other plans. And you can just grab them at that point.
Yeah.
And that's just a trick that I use a lot to prevent the chase in the pen. Usually when there's only like 2, at the end, when there's space. Usually they're all huddled at one end, and you can just grab a back leg. Because they're not as aware of those. They can't see them. You grab a back leg and pull them to you. And the way to handle a goat and a sheep is you want to, to be honest, if it's small enough, I just lift it up. I just carry it.
Sure.
Get the legs off the ground. Because again, they're not fleeing. If they, their plan A, B, C through Z is run. That's it. That's all they've got.
Yeah.
Maybe the ram, his plan B is stand and fight, but even then, if you come at him, he's running. So if you can deprive them of that plan, they have no others. And you're controlling their body. And so they'll calm down. And so lifting is not a bad idea. Just, grab them in the belly, lift them up so their legs are sticking straight out, if they're small enough, and you can manage that. Beware of the head. Even a sheep or a goat that doesn't have horns, they might throw their head back. Not really even trying to butt you, but just that kind of happens sometimes, and it's happened to me once. And so usually it's right in target of your jaw or your face, so you can get knocked out by one. And you just want to usually keep one arm, so you basically want to overhook their neck. You want to keep their head under your arm so that it can't come up if you're going to grab them.
Yeah.
And then you want to transition to, if it's a bigger sheep or a goat, I straddle them. Throw a leg over, and I'm not sitting on them or anything. And then you never really let go of them. You know, you always have a firm grip. Almost you feel violent, but you just keep in mind you want to restrain all of their movement. Don't let them move, and then they won't flip out. So you really, it's very firm restraint.
It's aggressive.
It is very aggressive. Yeah. And so I'll slide my leg over them, and immediately, you know, I'll slide my hand up their neck, and I raise their head up, grab their jaw, and their head's looking straight up. They can't see. And then they just kind of drag their feet. You can lead them wherever they go, and they're just kind of, you know, you're kind of dragging them a little bit. And I think when I have their head up, I've usually, you know, I'm straddling them, and I have an arm down just behind their shoulder. And sometimes I just go all the way down, and I lift up just their front legs, and I'm holding their head up. Controlling their head, because you don't want them to butt you in the face. And so just their back legs are on the ground, and we'll walk together. Maybe just to the other side of the pen, or maybe outside of it. If it's even bigger one, another way to control them is to get your finger in their mouth. And they're not like us. They don't have teeth on the top. And they just have these incisors, these grass cutting teeth on the bottom, but then there's a big gap where there's just gum and then molars back here where they chew. And so basically just behind the bottom jaw teeth, there's a big old hole there with no teeth where you stick your finger. And you can go in there and kind of clamp down on the top of the nose with your thumb or something, however you manage to do it. I can't remember how I do it. And pull up on that. And that kind of, you know, it's like a bit in a horse's mouth. They're they're quite distracted by that.
Yeah.
It's weird. It feels very weird to them.
Yeah.
And you can kind of lead them around with that. And you want to keep it in there, you know. You might feel like you're gagging them, but you're not. Their throat's way back there. Yeah. And they're just kind of, this is weird.
Yeah.
And you can kind of control them with that.
Yeah.
So those are the mechanisms of control.
Yeah, I think the thing that looked rather unbelievable to me with the movie, I didn't plan to make this movie.
I know.
Like the, you know.
The thing we deconstruct?
Yeah. But running alongside, you know, parallel with what we're talking about, it was a young man standing upright with the deer in front of him, also standing on two legs upright, you know, leaning against him, and they were both upright. Yeah. And not to mention the deer it was like a 5-point buck or something. So it had these horns.
Yeah, antlers. Yeah.
And that's what I mean, antlers. And and it didn't like butt him in the head. None of that. Like you've gotten butt in the head before by animals. Yeah. By these little ruminants. And
then you're bleeding all over them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But that seemed there needed to be more of a fight and more of a control on his part. He just basically lifted it up and sliced it. Yeah. And yeah, it's really about getting the four. When they have four on the floor, they have the capacity to panic and flee. Yeah. And they can outrun you, and they have a better base than you, so they can usually get away. And that's why I do find myself frequently lifting up the front two legs. You know, hold the head straight up, kind of right on your chest, and just go down, and right behind the front legs, just lift up. Yeah. Well, and let me say too, real quick plug. We've got, if you want visuals of this.
Oh, righto.
It's valuable to have it kind of narrated like we're doing, but also visually, we've got videos of this on our Insider membership. So if you ever really need to know, sign up for membership, and we've got the kill, the skinning and evisceration all in our membership. So the film's there. Yeah. But okay, did you talk about once you have it under your control, what you can do with it?
Yeah, so there is this amazing thing about sheep and goats is that when you do remove their ability to flee, you're kind of speaking their language because they are being hunted by carnivores, right, who deliver kills. And they usually they'll jump on the back, and they're trying to bring them down. They want the fight to go to the ground, you know. So they're trying to get a takedown.
Yep.
Whether it's a pride of lions or whatever, they're trying to get them down. And then they hold them and they deliver the kill. And so once the sheep is down, it's weird, but you're kind of, it's almost as if they understand. And you lay them down on their side. This is a takedown, opposite their legs. So you don't even have to deal with their guard, if we're talking in jiu-jitsu terms.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Because you want to be opposite the feet. And the key is to prevent their feet from being under them. That's the key. If they have one foot under, you know, they're on their side and one foot's under, usually a back leg, it'll be up under their belly. They have connection to the ground and they can push themselves upright.
Yeah.
And you've lost all control. To keep control, you have to keep their feet off the ground. So the way that I drop them, and again, this depends on the size of the animal. So I guess I'll go through a couple methods. But most of them, barring very large ones, I will, and this requires some physicality. Like you're wrestling with this sheep, and you're dominating it. That's the key. You have to dominate the sheep or the goat. I go back to its flank, which is the part where its back leg connects to its body. And you get control by gripping the little flap of skin there, the flank, which is basically the top of the back leg. And it's all in the hip. You use that to pull up, and then you hip out with your hips, and that should kick the legs out and then lay them down. It's not a slam. You're not slamming them on the ground. You just pull up, hip out. And for the front end, what do I usually do? It depends on the size of the sheep again, or the goat. I think if it's a little bigger, and especially a ram, and it has a wider base because they're more muscular, I go over the head rather than under the neck, and go over it, and I'll grab the front leg that is closest to me, the top of it.
Okay.
And that's a really good, strong grip, and you have lots of upward thrust right there, you know, with your whole shoulder. Yeah. And the same thing, grab the back leg, the flank, and you lift up and hip out. And then lay the animal down on its side.
The front leg that's closest to you? So
yeah.
Like its right leg, according to its perspective, its right one or its left one?
No, it's left one. Well, I'm assuming its head is this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so its left leg is is close to me.
Oh, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And
sorry. I was thinking it was over
the
here.
head.
Yep.
So that, again, they can't hit you in the face with their head. Because when they go down, they tend to kind of throw their head a little bit. Because it's very awkward to them. They never go down on their side. They don't choose to do that ever. And then you take them down on their side. And it really is all in the hips and using your knees. You know, don't lift with your lower back on that. Squat, and then hip out. Lift up, hip out, and lower them down. And if it's a very big one, then it is a little harder. Help might be in order, but what I have done is I sit them down. So you see sheep shearers do this all the time. And if you want to see how to handle a sheep, watch some sheep shearing videos.
Sure.
And again, it's based on the principle of get the floor off the floor. They don't have, unlike us bipeds, they don't have front legs that can articulate, what do you call that, transversely? Like this, you know?
Yeah.
Across their body. Their front legs, because they don't have clavicles, they can only go forward and backwards.
Yeah.
They can only step with those things. They can't go wide.
Yeah.
And their back legs can do it a little bit because it's a ball and socket joint back there, but not as much as us, clearly. And so you use that to your advantage, which means that if you lay them down on their side, they can't get their feet under them if you're leaning them back on their back. So for a really big guy, you might have to do a different takedown. And for those, I I'm straddling them because they're big, and my feet are on the ground, and I'm holding their head up, maybe my thumb in the mouth or not, and I walk backwards. And you might even have to provide a trip with one leg behind their back leg.
Okay.
And you walk backwards, lifting up, and they'll fall on their rump, or fall on their butt.
Okay.
Now, I've definitely done this ingloriously, and we both just fall down. But that's okay.
Yeah.
He's down. That's the point.
Okay.
Just keep a hold on him. And the point is not to push him on the ground. You're not holding him on the ground. All you're doing is tipping him. So it's more of a lateral pull.
You're submitting him.
You're tipping him so he can't get his feet under him. That's all it is.
Yep.
So you're not restraining him with your strength or your weight.
Yep.
Unlike
you're
jiu-jitsu.
just getting him to go, I'm done.
Yeah, you're just
left.
tipping. And so you can do big ones that way. Sit back with them. They'll go down on their rump, and then you can lay them down on their side. And keeping their legs off the ground means erring on the side of maybe even keeping them, at, what is that?
45?
No, more at like, at 10 o'clock or something.
Okay.
Not totally parallel with the ground, but up a little bit.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Not too far because they'll kick you in the face, but up a little bit just so they can't get their legs under them. And once you have them on the ground, again, the point is not to crush them with your weight. That actually makes them panic. And it actually gives them the ability to get some grip on you and get a foot underneath themselves. Mm-hmm. And it's not that. When they're down, I keep control of that flank I was talking about between the back leg and the body. And I just use that to tip them. Mm-hmm. Just pull it back against me. I'm not on top of them. I'm not sitting on them. My knee is over them, but it's not resting. It's not pushing down on them. And you just use that to tip. Because their most likely leg to get underneath them is their back leg that's on the ground. And so you just tip that up. That's all it is. And they'll kick, And so all of this is one fluid motion, kind of like surfing. You don't get up to, your elbows and then your knees and then your legs. It's one fluid thing, and you'll get better at it as you go. And you can practice on small sheep without killing them. This is just submission. Just practice this. Right. It's great.
Good point.
Get used to handling them. And you get them down, and you keep your hand on the flank to keep them tipped. And immediately you've already kind of got their neck flexed, arched back. And then you turn their head. So basically, their neck is at an L, perpendicular to their spine. They're still kind of looking up.
Their neck is at it's backwards.
Yeah,
They could go that far.
Kind of around your knee.
Wow.
Yeah, and you want to turn their head, their skull, so that the top of their head or their horns, if they have horns, you want both of them. Yeah. Flat on the ground, equal purchase on the ground. Okay. Not on the side, resting on one eye or something. No, both flat on the ground. Yeah. So the jaw is facing straight up. Yeah.
Giving you their
flat jaw.
The
two jaw bones are perpendicular or parallel to the ground.
Okay.
And in that position, they are disoriented in terms of their balance and knowledge of where their body is. And you can submit them there. And it's this amazing thing that happens, particularly with goats, but you can even do it with sheep once you get good at this. And again, it's got to be a fluid movement. There can't be any chasing beforehand. But you can get them to stay down. And you're not crushing them with your weight. Again, this is all very, strangely passively aggressive, if that makes sense. But you're not pushing them down.
I wouldn't use that term. It's aggressive with a passive ending.
Yeah, because you control them to get them there. Yeah. And then it's just minimal input to keep them there. And you'll find that if you get real good at this, you can get to the point where they stop struggling completely, and you can stand up and they'll stay down.
Yeah, that's the magic right there.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
You could find a YouTube film on this. Yeah. We haven't done it ourselves. Yeah. Except for in membership, you show a submitted.
I don't think I submitted that one, which is a good point, because you'll have to read it. you don't do it perfect every time. There's always circumstances. Maybe you missed one lunge, and that ticked up, one attempted grab. And so you wait, they run a little bit more, and then you grab them again. But that tacks up the anxiety, 1 degree or 3. And that mitigates your ability to do a prolonged, decisive, complete submission. Now, that doesn't mean you're not getting them still down on their side. If you get them down, you get their neck facing up. You can see their larynx pretty clearly. With wool sheep, you'll probably have to part the wool. But and they're down. If they're just continuously struggling against you, they're not submitting. You just need to take the kill, right? Don't wait there and struggle with the sheep or the goat just to prove to yourself that you can fully submit this animal.
Yeah.
You might not be able to for who knows how many reasons, but it's still a goal to shoot for. But when you have the choice between ending it right now and a prolonged struggle, you just always end it. Because the death always hurts. It will always be painful. And we can do our best. So you don't want to be...
You'll know.
Too perfectionistic.
You'll know when you're like, okay, this is the best I can do right now. I've got it at a decent spot.
Yeah. Take the life.
Yeah.
Do it.
This conversation will be continued in a forthcoming Part 2 episode. Thanks for listening, and peace be with you.